Actually, I wish us God's protection against this and hope that we'll come out of it very soon. The topic is very wide indeed. The bureaucracy and security sector governance, evaluating the roles of the Nigerian civil service, and public institutions. Each of these main key words will take a whole day. Therefore, it will not be surprised if you decide just to go a little experience of what this particular topic means. I'm not going to use too much of definition of complex organization, hierarchical, something that brings possible. As I take a factor in account can be seen either as a civil service or public service. In every organization, whether private or public, bureaucracy is very, very important. It is rules, regulations. Modeled country system, which we call Whitehall model, government, whether in a period of emergency or a normal period, whether it is military government, civilian government, whether the type of government is presidential, parliamentary, or dictatorial, is all to do its work. Now, the sector in a setup is very important because the primary role of the security of its citizens, whether environment security, whether physical security, individual security, corporate security, is very, very important that government takes care of all these security issues. Therefore, you need to have a very reliable organization, institution that. By the British parlance, the civil service is supposed to be headed to be security conscious. An administrative officer is supposed to be security officer up in, and a permanent secretary head is supposed to security face the government. Therefore, it is not a permanent secretary or an admin officer in the Ministry of Agriculture. Ordinarily, you will not say has nothing to do with security. Budget of the admin take care of what they call the food security, a very budget that will take care of the sector. To bring our topic more to what security is, there are identified
ahead.
So there are some Nigerian identity management. For example, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the engine from the presidency, independent ministry, interior, and so on and so forth. But when we started the Nigerian nation after independence, police affairs, the ministry or internal affairs, as we used to also go the actual the armed force, military, the of security have e-branch of the Nigerian police, which transformed into NSO with a combination of the research of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is now NIA, following the organized security architecture of Obasanjo. NSO was created and it took part of police and the foreign affairs function. However, as we go on, during Babangida, we also found that there were some lapses when NSO could not even detect that there was going to be coup against President now. I think Babangida looked at the whole security architecture and decided to really NSO to become DSS, Department of Security. Then we have international external security issues of TV, force, and the army. After that, with security is now in Nigeria. The office of the NSA is in some intelligence, but the action agencies like the police and the more or less are almost in that you do not have things. However, because of the proximity of this to the usually and have not much that can be done from the speed of the security side. Every day, the command post or from the and even through staff. However, what is lacking architect country, the bureaucracy cannot do much because agencies sometimes become a little bit of and taking advantage of being close to the presidency. This may be a good thing, but in the final analysis, the kind of coordination that is required will not be there. Before I just stop, that the bureaucracy cannot really manage the security sector as far as Nigerian situation is concerned, simply because the security in itself is something that should be very, very patriotic, and corrupt bureaucracy. When you have that, then you will now content with negative aspect it would have on security agencies. Now the challenges we are facing in this country, banditry, Boko Haram, kidnappings, and so on and so forth, is because corruption has permeated every aspect. Those interested in the procurement will not only be those that are supposed to be professionally trained to procure weapons for the military, but even the military will be interested. Why? Because in exercising that particular function of procurement, you gain a lot of things. And then you lose out completely. Your own objective now is to procure and get whatever you can get, not to really face the challenges that you see in the military, for example. You have the command, you have the staff. The staff and the command officers do interchange. But where you have officers now engage in certain things that is procurement, which is like, and staff people who are looking at what is supposed to be there, then you end up with a very security architecture that all these things will be done and achieved as we are thinking. I would like to conclude by saying that bureaucracy in Nigeria is not about like in anywhere. There is no alternative to it. The civil service is also there. Ministries are there. You can categorize bureaucracy or the ministry into 4 different things: the line ministries, the constitutional bodies, and of course, regulatory agencies, and then independent corporations that we call parastatals. All of them are there, and the objective make sure that government is done as it should be, and that the security of an individual and the nation in general becomes the priority of every public servant, not only those that are engaged in what we call rules of engagement, action agencies. I hope that with the limited time, we are not presenting a paper because there are so many things to be said about the security architecture, but I think the bureaucracy, as it is now, is not in a very good position to make sure that security architecture in this country is well planned and well implemented to the advantage of the ordinary Nigerian citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. Thank you very much for that brief but insightful historical excursion through the evolution of Nigeria's security and intelligence bureaucracy. You've highlighted the absence of an effective mandate for central coordination, despite the existence of the Office of the National Security Advisor as one of the in sector governance. Is something that we will be considering as we go forward. You've also hinged effective security sector governance on the existence of patriotic and corruption-free bureaucracy. I'm sure that these are issues that we will continue to address as we proceed in this conversation. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to call on the next panelist, is Senator Dr. Abdullahi Yahya. Senator Yahya is the senator representing Kebbi North Central of Kebbi at the 9th National Assembly, in which he is the Senate Majority Leader. An active politician and academic, Senator Yahya is an associate professor and principal research fellow at the Zaria. You're welcome, sir. You have 10 minutes to make your presentation. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I would like, first of all, to thank the convener and the panelists participants in this webinar. It is great the quality of the participants and panelists that are here. I'm also quite the person who is my boss, former secretary of the federal government, former head of science, he worked every year, and I learned from him. So stands on a lot of the issues that he raised. Before I come in, particularly the central issue in this particular webinar that we have to of the state itself as it's an institution which has the responsibility for both security and welfare, of the citizen. Now, how does it do this? Through governance, the institutions of governance. In our democracy, we have three: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Now, the major issue is that the executive has the greatest responsibility, for taking care.
AD4 TV Radio, with focus on education with emphasis on research and innovation, science and technology, women and girl child education, children, health, youth and sports, socio-political and economic reforms, security, environment, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. Will give you information at your fingertips. Learn on the go. Follow AD4 TV Radio on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. AD4 TV Radio, reliable and credible.
We love you, AD4 TV Radio.
And the fact that most of the legislature are also people who have been elected, representing the various constituencies means that there should be, a relative amount of paying confidence, giving the legislature the kind of, legislative views of issues, particularly in the area of security, some kind of respect, that they deserve. Recently I chaired an ad hoc committee made up of very senior senators and senators who are responsible to legislate for the various security sectors, from intelligence to army, navy, air force. All the chairmen of those committees were involved. We wrote a whole report, and I think like other reports before it, even during the military, there have been so many reports of security. I once served as secretary to one of the reports which under the chairmanship of Professor Tamno, Presidential Panel on National Security during Obasanjo. I served another one on the reform of the Nigerian police. Another one was convened even before the recommendation. So there have been so many reports on the security sector and recommendations on the way in which we can be able to work out the security sector. The major issue that I think we should be able to understand, the security arrangement that was built, in 1967 when the military came in and removed structure. And there is a lot of, the nation has grown, to such a level, in complexity, in the population, in space, in even the ecological changes have taken place, which should have been reformed. I have had my book talking about the changes yeah, they are that at the bureaucratic level, but there were no changes, that really happened both in money levels, the introduction of technology, in equipment, in training. One of the worst things that you will go and find, go to any local government in this country, particularly local governments in the north. Hardly will you find any local government that has a full complement of more than 200 policemen and on duty, and train. Go to our police training institutions. All of them are in terrible shape. Go to all the training, all now welfare, and that's what the security forces do. But and there's, the intelligence, like we say, has no coordination. So the major issue is that we have to really go back at the architecture itself. Where, how do we, govern the Nigeria, given the complexity, both ecological and social that has emerged since 1967? We have come to this issue clearly, creatively. The issue of central coordination, of the security architecture is completely absent. If you look at the act that establishes the Office of the National Security Advisor, virtually it's just a 3-page act, which confers on him no authority whatsoever, to do with the and the security establishment. So we talk bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is on the ground. We work, and also the panelist was also a PAMSEC, who was my senior, senior permanent secretary in the civil service. But one thing is there, these institutions are there. But what is required, the necessary political will and understanding to make them work properly. And for them to work properly, you need to have confidence in the governing institutions. The governing institutions must trust each other. That of trust and of empathy and consultation. These issues are very important. These institutions are there, but unless you bring them together and you learn from their own, allow them to carry out these challenges. We could even go to the point of we could not start the two. And that will already correct and the understand and the operation in the various. Now there is no way in which the bureaucracy can really, the security of this country if the institutions, the major institutions of government